night we broke all kinds of records for ratings, and I thank you for that. I thank you for waking your friends up, and please, please, there is a reason why everybody on the left is coming after this program. There's a reason for it. If we were wrong, if we were complete, they'd encourage us. Keep going, brother. There's a special program this week. Invite a friend to watch. DVR the shows. Save them. Write them down. We're asking tough questions. Because when you look at one news story after another, things just don't make sense. How can we spend our way out of debt? Why are we rushing into everything? Why won't our politicians bother to read the bills? John Conyers said something outrageous, but it makes sense when you put it into context of what you're beginning to learn this week and will by the end of the week. I hope you're getting this message. Watch what he said.
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill. What good is reading the bill if it's 1,000 pages and you don't have 2 days and 2 lawyers to find out what it means after you read the bill?
Okay, so he thinks it's reasonable to not read the bill. It doesn't make sense unless you understand the context. I think it's reasonable to read the bill. But let me ask you this. If your wife suggests, you know, you're going to go out to eat at some place you've never heard of, you go because you trust her. Conyers is not being irresponsible. This is a sign that he trusts whoever put the bill together. You don't, because you've seen the ramifications of what's going on in Washington. More importantly, until this week, you probably didn't know who's actually writing these bills. This week, you're getting a little closer to the truth. Who is it that those in Washington are trusting? It's not you. They think you're crazy. They want to put you on a watch list. Maybe you'll end up trusting who's putting these bills together as well, and that's fine. I don't, but you may. But we deserve to know, especially because we didn't vote for these people. Whoever's pulling the strings or writing the bills. Who are they? Well, take a look.
To get through this, governments need to act. Great obligation, responsibility for governments to act to solve these things. The market will not solve this. And the great risk for us is we do too little, not that we do too much.
Markets are still, a free market still needs to be able to function. But if I can steal a phrase from a former president, it was referenced about him that he has saved capitalism from the capitalist.
I think I'm going to win the Nobel Prize because I think I can finally prove that Ronald Reagan is wrong, George Bush is wrong. Wealth does not trickle down. It trickles up.
And guess what this liberal would be all about? This liberal will be all about socializing, would be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
I think we had quite enough capitalism in the last 8 years. I think we need some regulation now.
If we're looking for a speech that's affected international documents, thinking about human rights, even constitutions all over the world, Roosevelt's second Bill of Rights speech is towers, I think, above them all.
A culture of irresponsibility took root from Wall Street to Washington to Main Street. And a regulatory regime basically crafted in the wake of a 20th century economic crisis, the Great Depression, was overwhelmed by the speed, scope, and sophistication of a 21st century global economy. So today, my administration is proposing a sweeping overhaul of the financial regulatory system, a transformation on a scale not seen since the reforms that followed the Great Depression.
You want me to elaborate the point? Down with capitalism.
Down with capitalism. By the way, as a former partner of the guy who runs the Apollo Alliance, the guy who helped write the stimulus bill. Former economic advisor to President Reagan, Art Laffer, is here, and senior economic writer for the Wall Street Journal, Stephen Moore. They are both authors of the book, The End of Prosperity. Guys, I want to stick to who these people are, and I'm going to give you a few words of some of them, and then you tell me what it means. This is from the science czar, John Holdren. The need for de-development presents our economists with a major challenge. They must design a stable, low-consumption economy in which there is much more equitable distribution of wealth than in the present one. Distribution of wealth both within and among nations is absolutely essential if decent life is to be provided for every human being. Stephen, you want to take that?
Yeah, it's not too surprising that we're not creating wealth and we're not creating jobs when Mr. Obama's advisors are against wealth and creating jobs. I mean, what de-development means is less development. And this is clearly anti-capitalist, but it's also anti-jobs, it's anti-wealth, it's anti-prosperity. And this is a guy who wrote a book back in the 1960s with Paul Ehrlich. And Ehrlich, they were the authors of The Population Bomb, the Malthusans, who thought the whole world was coming to an end.
Right. Art, help me out on this one. This is from Cass Sustein.
Thank you.
Without taxes, there would be no liberty. Without taxes, there would be no property. Without taxes, few of us would have any assets worth defending. It is a dim fiction that some people enjoy and exercise their rights without placing any burden whatsoever on the public fisc. There is no liberty without dependency. That is why we should celebrate Tax Day. What does that mean?
I don't really know how to take, that's one to take on, isn't it? I mean, we all know there's a need for taxes to raise the revenues that the government has to do, but the question is we should try to minimize the damage that taxes do. We should raise the requisite revenues, doing the least possible damage to the economy, not praise taxes. Taxes are a necessary evil at times, Glenn, but they are not something that we should praise, and we should, it's like praising cancer because it...
Here's what I'm asking both of you. Brian Deese is a guy who is, according to the New York Times, knows nothing about the automobile industry, helped redesign what we're doing now with General Motors and Chrysler, et cetera, et cetera.
And Nancy Pelosi.
And he is not a capitalist.
Right.
How is it that we find ourselves with the president surrounding himself with people who are not capitalist at best?
Because, Glenn, that's an easy question to answer. Because the president doesn't believe in capitalism himself. I mean, he's made this very clear. The people he's surrounded himself share his belief system. It is anti-capitalist. I would also describe it as a, I don't know if Arthur would agree with me on this, but I think it's radical redistributionism, to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Art, what is the question that America needs to ask to get that and to pin the president down? He is either a capitalist or he is not. They use all this language, and me personally, what we're doing this week is taking the president at his own words. You want to know what I believe? Look at the people I surround myself with. Well, Stephen, you look at these people.
Yeah.
So Art, what should we ask?
Well, I mean, the question here is that he clearly doesn't believe in the system we have as we have it. His proposals demonstrate that very clearly. His health care proposal, we all know he wants a single payer, and he wants that to be the government.
Okay.
We all understand that he doesn't think consumers control prices.
Okay.
I mean, he doesn't propose many things we should do, and let less with a lot that we know are wrong.
All right, I need you to hang on. America, please give me another 30 minutes tonight. I'm going to show you some stuff that I think is just downright spooky. But I also have to come back and share with you the one question: why is the Fed in New York now being run by the unions?
Sometimes